Welcome back. I was going through my freezer today and I realized I've had a 2-pack of pie crust taking up space for quite some time. I usually prefer to make my own, but I must have seen these on sale at some point and bought then forgot about them. It's not apple season yet, and I'm not really in the mood for lemon meringue, so let's make quiche. Don't forget to like the video if you want to help the channel grow, and subscribe for more homemade food. Let's get started. If you're following along, you'll need pie crust, either store-bought or homemade is fine, eggs, milk, 35% fat cream, a decent amount of cheese, and whatever meat and veggies you'd like to add. The actual amount of milk, cream, and eggs isn't as important as the ratios, and this recipe can be scaled up or down as far as you'd like. For every 1 large egg, use 1/8 cup of milk and 1/8 cup of 35% fat cream, or about 30 milliliters of each, or 2 tablespoons of each, or about 30 grams of each, however you prefer to measure it. I usually use between 3 and 4 eggs per pie shell depending on the size, which means I would need between 90 and 120 milliliters of both milk and cream. Since I've got some smaller pie shells, and I'm making 2, I'll be using 6 eggs with 3/4 of a cup of milk and 3/4 of a cup of 35% cream. If you can't get your hands on 35% cream easily, you can substitute both the milk and cream for 10% fat cream and get pretty similar results. If you're trying to cut down on calories, you could substitute the cream for just milk, use low-fat cheese, and make it without a pie crust underneath, but at that point you're making a low-fat frittata. I prefer using all the fat than just pretending I'll eat a smaller portion. I say pretending because I think we both know I'm going to eat half one of these quiche in one sitting anyway, so it might as well be delicious. I'm using ham and cheese in both, and adding sautéed mushroom and onion to just one of them. Omelette rules apply here, so anything you like putting in an omelette will work just fine in a quiche. Feel free to experiment. Bacon, peppers, spinach, onions, mushrooms, tomatoes, olives, broccoli, even sardines. Seriously, whatever you like, it all works. The only caveat is if the ingredients have a high water content, it's often a good idea to cook them down a little first. So I'll start with my onions. I was going to try to add a little educational part here about good knife skills and how to use the claw grip to avoid cutting yourself, but I forgot these onions were a little past their prime, and when I tried to show how to roughly dice them, everything just kind of fell apart. I'll probably make a video on basic kitchen knife skills in the future, but for now, the claw grip just means that you're going to bend either the second or the last knuckle of your index or middle finger, whatever's comfortable, and hold the food in a claw-shaped hand. Doing this lets you rest the flat side of the knife against your most forward knuckle, and provided you keep your fingertips behind that bent knuckle and angle the knife either straight up and down or slightly away from yourself, you physically cannot cut your fingers. The reason why I'd consider this the very first thing you should learn in terms of kitchen knife skills is that you can always build up confidence or speed after you've learned how to do something safely, and I consider this the safest way to slice food. Once my onions are sliced, I'm adding a teaspoon or 2 of leftover bacon fat to the pan, then usually I would cook them low and slow for about an hour. But I'd like to show you something. There are a few different ways that people try to rush caramelizing onions, like adding baking soda to change the pH, but I've always found that no matter how little I add, it changes the flavor in a way that I really don't like. Instead, if your onions are starting to pick up a little color too early and are about to burn, get a small glass of hot water ready. Ideally, you could use boiling water from a kettle and avoid thermally shocking your pan, but my tap water comes out hot enough to burn my hands, and I'm only adding a little bit to the pan at a time, so I'm not too worried about doing this, but you do need to exercise a little caution nonetheless. Add maybe a tablespoon or 2 of water to the pan, and be careful as it's going to instantly turn into a cloud of steam. Doing this deglazes not only the pan, but the onions as well. It kind of pulls off some of the about to burn parts of the onions, then redistributes that browning throughout the rest of the pan more evenly. I find doing this 2 to 3 times over 10 to 15 minutes can give you very similar results to cooking onions low and slow for an hour, but I do try to reserve this technique for when I legitimately don't have time to do it the right way. If you decide to give it a try yourself, remember, less is more when it comes to adding water. You want just enough water to deglaze the onions and the pan, but not so much that the onions end up sitting in a pool of water. Thankfully, any excess water you add will just evaporate off, so really the only worry here is getting burned by the steam. Now that my onions are nicely cooked, I'm slicing up one cremini mushroom and adding it to the pan. Want to learn a fun fact? Button mushrooms, cremini, and portobello are all the exact same mushroom called Agarus bisporus. I hope I said that right. Just at 3 different stages of growth. Now there's not much room at the top, but it's fun facts like that that make me such a fun guy. Calm down, I didn't mean any truffle. Anyway, I've got a nice chunk of hickory smoked ham from last Thanksgiving, and like the pie crust, it's been taking up room in my freezer just waiting for the day I make quiche. I'm removing a little fat and skin from the outer layer, but don't worry, it won't go to waste. I ended up eating most of it off camera as I don't really love biting into a quiche and hitting a big chunk of ham fat or skin. The more I make these videos, the more I'm realizing how much of a picky eater I really am. But when you're cooking for yourself, you can be as picky as you'd like. Or at least that's what I keep telling myself. I'm not a fan of making any more dishes than I have to, so I like to measure my milk and cream in a 4-cup measure, then add the eggs to the measure and beat it all together. It also makes it a little easier to pour. As I mentioned before, I'm using 6 eggs to 3/4 of a cup of both milk and 35% fat cream. But if you need to scale this up or down depending on the size of your pie crust or the number of quiche you're making, you can use a ratio of 1/8 cup or 30 milliliters of both milk and cream to 1 egg. While you absolutely can premix all of your ingredients together before adding them to your pie crust, I like to add the egg mixtures in first on their own. This gives me a better idea of how much room I have left for ham and cheese and other ingredients, and because I'm only adding mushrooms and onions to one, I don't have to clean 2 mixing bowls this way. My old box grater completely fell apart a few months ago, and I'm still getting used to using this microplane style grater. Or is this a macroplane since the holes are bigger? Not really sure. Either way, I find this style of grater much easier to use, but the downside is that I'm apparently so used to using my old dull cheese grater that I let my guard down and sliced into my thumb the first 3 or 4 times I used it. They say to put a piece of yourself into the things you love, but I don't love quiche that much, and thankfully I didn't add any of myself to this one. I'm using a combination of aged sharp cheddar and marble cheese, but again, we're going with omelette rules here, so you use whatever kind you like the best. The amount you use is up to you, but I'd say this is one of the rare occasions where cheese to taste applies here. If I had to take a guess, I've probably used between 40 and 50 grams of each kind of cheese in each quiche. I really like fresh ground black pepper in my eggs, so enjoy watching me grind pepper, I guess. Give it a little mix and off we go into a 350 degree Fahrenheit oven for about 30 minutes. The amount of time these take to cook can be extremely variable depending on how deep your pie crust is and what ingredients you've added, so I'm going to show you a much better way to tell when it's cooked correctly. And sorry in advance that my oven light is kind of a weird dim orange. I'll do what I can in post. This is what my quiche looked like at the 15-minute mark, and you can clearly see the middle is still liquid and sloshes around when I try to jiggle it. This is about halfway done. At the 32-minute mark, you can see that things are puffing up and rising, and the middle jiggles like jelly instead of sloshing like a liquid. This is what a perfectly cooked quiche looks like to me. And the one with added mushroom and onion took an additional 3 minutes. If you undercook your quiche, you'll have a little bit of liquid egg mixture in the middle, which can be kind of unpleasant. If you overcook it instead, things can get a little dry or rubbery. You should have about a 3 to 5 minute window to catch it when it's just right, so the timing really isn't that difficult. If it's your first time making quiche, just reach in and give it a jiggle once in a while. You won't hurt anything. And this is how mine looks under normal lighting, and as you can see, the top has started to brown really nicely. The ham and cheese only quiche did brown a little bit more since it was on the top rack, even though the other quiche cooked for an additional 3 minutes. Trying to jiggle test these and film at the same time didn't really go as well as I would have liked, so hopefully you can see what I mean about the middle being set enough, but not too set. The ham and cheese quiche did stick to the edge of the pan a little bit, but that's completely my fault for forgetting to make sure the pie crust had separated from the foil liner before adding my filling. Thankfully, the second quiche wasn't stuck at all, and the first piece came out perfectly. That almost never happens, so I'm really glad that I got that on camera. You can see that a very small amount of clear liquid is starting to seep out from where I'd removed a slice, and that's just water from the ham. When you freeze ham and defrost it, it just kind of does this. I think it's because the water turns into ice crystals and expands and then kind of ruptures little bits of the meat. I don't know. It just happens. This is fine. Totally normal. The pie crust will soak up any excess liquid in the fridge overnight, and when I go to eat the leftovers tomorrow, it's going to taste even better. If your crust does get a little too wet or soggy the next day, you can always reheat your leftovers in a pan to dry out and crisp up the bottom. If I missed anything or you have any questions, feel free to post in the comments. I do read them all and I try to reply to as many as I can. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to let YouTube know by pressing the like button and subscribe for more homemade food. See you next time.